Hello and welcome to episode 70 of Retro Recall the PS1 Chronicles, a show where we play and rank every PlayStation game ever created. My name is Jimmy, and as always, I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
So, we have a very, very interesting game this week. You know, I've been saying that a lot, but I think that goes double for this one. This game was requested by @0x44 on YouTube, and we've had it on the list for a while, but we figured with Elden Ring Night Rain coming out this week, you know, might as well look into FromSoft's first game.
Yeah, and a little behind the scenes, we had this scheduled for a different time, like earlier of these episodes, but we decided to push it out a little bit later.
Yeah, I don't remember why. I think just the scheduling kind of got moved around.
Yeah, I think it was originally intended for like end of the year, but then with the awards show, and
that's what it was. Yeah,
let's just push it. Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say I have been interested in checking this game out for a very long time, just because me loving all the FromSoft games, would love to see where it all started, because there are things in this game that are in Elden Ring, which is crazy to say.
And I, with my very minimal knowledge about their products, there are things I've seen that I'm like, oh wait, they still use this system to this day with Demon Souls and all that stuff. So it's crazy that they, from the beginning, they already had this in place.
Yeah, I mean, Miyazaki, who's directed all the Souls games, has said he took significant influence from Kingsfield. So it's very interesting. But yeah, so before we get into the game, you know, I got a few questions for you to give our listeners an idea of how you feel about these kind of games. Because I love Souls games. You don't necessarily love them, but I don't think you hate them, right?
I would just say I'm indifferent because I've just never played them. I think I've been so intimidated that I'm just like, I don't even want to try, but that's going to change. I'm going to eventually try one and finally play it.
Well, then that ties into my first question perfectly. Do you like games where you're given like no direction? Like you're just tossed in this world, left to figure out what to do? Like, does that sound appealing to you? Or is that like I need something?
The game I finally stopped talking about has to come back. And that would be Star Ocean Until the End of Time. One of my favorite games in the world. You're literally just dropped into a hotel. You start in the hotel and you just go. There's nothing to it. And you got to figure out where you're supposed to go, what the goal is that you're even there for. And the story starts to unravel as you figure things out. And absolutely love that. I wish more games would do it. This being one of them, I did actually love it of, all right, I have no direction. Let's figure out where my direction is.
Obviously, I also like games like that, but we'll get into why I don't love that part of this game. But I just need a little bit of something. Like, for example, the first Dark Souls game, you're just dropped into this area. You know, there's so many different ways you can go, but you do have the goals. You know what you are supposed to do in general, you know?
Does it tell you that?
Yeah, you talk to an NPC and he's like, you have to ring these 2 bells.
Oh, okay.
You don't know where they are, but you know that's what you have to do. So you're exploring to find that. I need that's kind of direction. Like, you are supposed to find this or do this. Now, figure it out in this world. But I need that initial bit of direction, which is kind of why this game annoyed me a little bit in the beginning, because it doesn't really tell you anything. So, you know, we'll get into that more later, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
Now, in Dark Souls, how soon into the game do you get that information?
Without going too deep into this, so you do the tutorial, you get to Firelink Shrine. There's one NPC there for you to talk to immediately right next to the bonfire, and that's what he tells you.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty much in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Like, it gives you an objective of like, okay, this is what I'm doing in the game. And even in Star Ocean, like, you're getting an objective, but you're kind of being handed the objective throughout the story as it's evolving. So you're like, okay, well, now I know I need to go do this, but then you don't know what the bigger picture is until it gets to the bigger picture.
These kind of games, it kind of just comes down to personal preference, what you like. I mean,
yeah,
that's really all it is. Do you want your handheld? You know, do you just need a little bit? Do you want to just completely figure out everything on your own? I mean, no method is better than the others. It's just kind of what you like. That's why games like this are hard to judge, you know, objectively, because to some people, they're going to absolutely eat this shit up. And some people are going to bash their head against the wall and never think about it again. You know what I mean?
You can apply that to every single game we cover in the show.
Yeah.
Just because we hate it so much and we give it a low score, someone's like, but that's the best part about this game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of what we do here. And it also goes to like, we've talked about this a lot lately, actually, how I like the exploring and not really know what I'm doing, going off the path and what's over here. Let's see what's over here. And you kind of just, here's my directive. I'm going to do the directive that I'm told.
Well, I do agree with you on that, but that's not necessarily always true. I think it depends on the kind of game for me. Like, for example, it came up in Pinobi, right? Where you were kind of exploring a little more than me. And in that kind of game, I would never explore because there's not anything worth finding, right?
Also true, yes.
Like this game is an RPG essentially. So like there are always things that you should find. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. In Dark Souls, I am exploring every single corner of that map because there's stuff that's worth finding.
Okay.
But what's another example of a game that we talked about recently? I'm trying to think off the top of my head and I can't think of one right now.
I don't know. With how many episodes we're on 70 now, I'm just like, geez.
Oh, Doom. Doom was the other one that you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Where you were finding the secrets. And I'm like, I never felt like I needed to find more ammo or guns or health because I was playing on the easiest difficulty, to be fair. But
yes,
the game is not necessarily super challenging until you get to the higher difficulties. So then I can understand you looking for secrets because you might need them.
Mm-hmm.
In Kingsfield, I really do think that you need to explore. Obviously, you're not going to find anything without that.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I mean, my last point before we talk about the game, so this intro is going long already, but this is essentially already us discussing the game anyway, so who cares? Do you feel like using guides or save states cheapens your experience? And I know we've talked about this before, but I used a guide for this game. I use save states sparingly. I only did it in the very beginning because I wasn't sure what I was doing and I didn't want to lose my progress, but right. I didn't cheese anything.
Throughout this show, I've only used the walkthrough, 2 or 3 times max?
Under 5 for sure.
Yeah. I think that just goes down to what your objective is in the game. If you want to like find everything, do everything, then yeah, walkthroughs are fine. It goes back to what we were even talking about with the intro of just jumping into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all personal preference because me personally, you'll always say, oh, I followed a walkthrough for this. I will persevere and force my way through with no walkthrough because I get the satisfaction of I figured this out. There are cases in this show where I have to, just because if I don't, I'm going to be like, oh, I spent 5 hours on this game and I didn't make it far at all because I just couldn't figure it out. So for the sake of the show, sometimes I do need a walkthrough just to get me like pushed past a little bump. And then I'm like, okay, no more walkthrough because now I know where I'm going.
I think for me, when I use a walkthrough, it's kind of part of the fun for me in a way because I'll just, this is going to give away a little bit of my feelings on this game, but I kind of got the same feeling that I get from Dark Souls playing this, where I'm like, I want to know more. I want to have, the walkthrough that tells me everything because then I can effectively play the game.
So you think you need the walkthrough in order to play the game to the maximum ability that it was designed for?
I think for me personally, I think that the walkthrough makes it more fun.
Okay.
And like, even when I play Elden Ring or Dark Souls, like I will look some stuff up. I will obviously try my best to not look anything up, but like I'll clear an area and then I'm like, oh, what did I miss? Because there's always stuff that you're going to miss.
Right.
But my first time is always my first time. And I don't know, to me, it just, whenever I get really into a game, I will read wikis. I will go on the subreddit. I will just go crazy into this. And I already felt myself kind of wanting to do that with this as I'm playing it. I'm like wanting to find out more. And so a walkthrough, it doesn't ruin it for me. It enhances it for me,
Okay. And I do all that stuff anyways. I do that stuff after I'm done playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if this wasn't for the show, I would play this game until I beat it. And then I'd go into it afterwards and read all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there's a secret here that I didn't know about. Okay, I can go back later. But for the show, it's also the thing of when I'm done, I'm like, okay, I'm not recording anymore. then I go into YouTube and I'll watch people play it, and then I learn more things that way. And it's like I wait until after my full experience, and then I go back and start reading more into it.
Yeah, I mean, that just reflects the way that both of us play games, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
We're playing these games like we would any other game. So,
yep.
But I also watch YouTube. I wait to watch any YouTube videos until after I'm done for sure playing it, because that is to me is too far.
When they show you all these little secrets.
Yeah, like I'm literally like, this is exactly what I have to do. Like, we'll talk about this in a minute too. The guide that I found, like, yeah, it helps a little bit, but it doesn't like solve anything for you.
I have comments for that too, but
all right. Well, we're itching to get into this. Let's get into the game. King's Field was released exclusively in Japan on December 16th, 1994. It was released 16 days after the PlayStation was released.
Crazy.
So there's a little bit of confusion here, and King's Field, this is the original King's Field. There is another King's Field 1, just called King's Field, that came out in the US, but that is King's Field 2.
Right.
I don't know if you want to share your anecdote now, but...
Yeah. So whenever I was looking up the manual, as I always do, I knew that fact of like, this is Japan only. And I found the game manual in English, and it didn't really register like, oh, this is in English. Maybe someone translated. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the manual, it's like, oh, to do this, you push this button. And I kept pushing it in my game. Like, why is this not working? And turns out I was reading the manual for 2 and not 1.
We did eventually find the manual for this game that someone actually did translate, and it was very helpful. But, you know, we read it after we were done playing, not, you know, helping us in the game. But as we mentioned in the intro, it was developed and published by From Software, their first game. And this is a first-person dungeon crawler. I mean, some places call it an action RPG. I don't know that I would necessarily call this an RPG, but I guess it's the same way the Souls games are RPGs. You know, they're action games that have RPG elements.
Yeah, this is just something I'm gathering now. With this being their first game, that From Software is just like, hey, here's like the main genre, but we're also going to add other genres in here that we like. So, I think the dungeon crawling RPG fits well for this game.
Well, yeah, I mean, most games in modern gaming can be called an RPG in some way. Like Assassin's Creed is an RPG now. You know what I mean? There's all these things that like they take RPG elements. So then like, does that make them an RPG? Not necessarily, but every game also has those now. So that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the English translation that we are playing was done by John Osborne, and it came out like a long time ago too. I think like almost 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
To get us started, I actually want to hear from you. I want to hear your initial thoughts. I already knew what this game was, obviously. So I want to know how you felt getting into this.
Overwhelmed is the greatest one-word answer for this. Because, I mean, like we said, you just get dropped in. There's no map, so you're just walking around trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
I think I died about 8 times within the first 15 minutes of the game. And I was like, is this what my life is going to be? Like, just never making any progress and keep dying. I was having fun walking around and exploring things, but then a lot of things confused me. But I think it's just one of those things of when you're playing this, you just learn as you're going. And then you're like, oh, okay, now this makes sense to why I couldn't do this earlier. And now things are becoming easier, as I understand.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Dark Souls is a lot easier than this, obviously. It's, you know, a modern game. But when I was starting this, very much overwhelmed, very much like, I don't know where to go or what to do. You know, the first room I go into has a hidden wall with a skeleton that kills me immediately, which I actually went back on my last... I hate that I'm referencing this because you have to find it again. Sorry. But my last gameplay footage, I go back and kill him. I'm like, I can get him now. And I got him.
Yep. And I did the same thing. I saw him. I'm like, hey, a skeleton guy. And he 2-taps me and I'm dead. I'm like, all right, don't do that again. And every time I was playing this game, I keep thinking to Dark Souls, where I'm like, I never played them, but I feel like it's the same mentality of, hey, what's this thing? Oh, I'm going to fight this thing. Oh, it killed me in one hit. Don't do that again, or find a better way to do it. And then you die to that same person about 80 times, and then you learn what to do.
Yeah, and I guess my first point with that would be saving is very weird in this game. So,
yeah.
Did you figure out how to save?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to look that up. I didn't figure that out on my own.
I only figured it out because I realized pretty early on that I clicked on a bed and I got some potion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, there are things hidden and objects all over this place. So whenever I was in the church area talking to the priest, I saw a cross on the wall. I'm like, I'm just going to click on that. Clicked on it and I was like, oh, this is how you save. That's very good to know.
I wish I would have had that thought process, but I'm like, oh, it's a church. There's a cross on the wall, whatever. But there's also a cross in the shops. So I should have realized it.
Yeah, it's really just one. I'm just so glad I happened to hit the select button or the action button on a bed and I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And once I saw that, I clicked on literally everything in every room just to make sure that it wasn't something within it.
There is stuff in the beds and the barrels. Did you ever find anything in like a gravestone? I don't think I ever did.
Yep. Gravestones have a ton of stuff. Skeletons on the ground have a ton of stuff.
I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, if there's an object that isn't the walls and the doors, you should probably be clicking on it.
Even then, you probably still should be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You should be as well.
All right. Yeah. I mean, there's so much I want to talk about. I don't even know where to start. So, this game does have a story. It's very light. You play as John Alfred Forrester, and you are just dropped in here. You're looking for your dad, who came here to find something. I don't really know what, but
there's this whole story of like someone of the forest or something, and they have a magical power, and they came because the forest called to them. And then there has been quiet for a long time, and then all of a sudden now you show up and they're like, oh, now there's another one to fill the space or something.
From Software is still the same now. The story only matters if you want it to matter. I mean, you're just here, you're finding your dad. You're finding dead soldiers, so clearly your dad is either dead or in trouble. I didn't look up what happens. I don't think it even matters, to be honest with you, because as soon as you start this game, you're not thinking about that at all.
As soon as you start this game, you die immediately, and then you try again. So you forget what the story is almost immediately upon starting.
I guess the first thing I want to ask you about is, how much did the frame rate and the slowness of this bother you?
It bothered me in the sense of I was angry a lot, but it didn't hurt me motion sickness wise.
Me either, no, which I'm surprised.
Okay, that's good. I mean, in the title screen alone, when they're just getting to the name of the game, it lags so much. I'm like, this is not a good sign for the rest of the game. And I don't know what triggers it sometimes, but you'll just be in a random area and it bogs down to like 1 frame per second.
Pretty much anytime there's like more than 2 enemies on the screen, it's just done. It's done for.
Well, I saw there's one where it's like these plant creatures and then a body behind the plant creature. That's it. There was nothing more, and I was struggling to move in the game.
Did you ever get paralyzed in this game?
Oh my god, yes. The stupid spiders.
And then it moves so slow. It is crazy.
It feels like it goes on forever. And same with poisoning. Like, you get poisoned and you're like, is this going to stop? I don't think this is stopping. I think I might die. And then you burn through 3 healing items before it finally stops.
I always had an antidote on me, so I never worried about it.
I didn't want to use my antidotes because I only had like 1. So I'm like, I'll just deal with this later.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was the same way with my like regular healing items. I'm just like afraid to use any of them.
But then it gets to the point too where like you would be finding healing items within the enemies and just randomly all over the place. So I got to the point where I was just comfortable using them more often because I was just like, well, I don't really need to keep holding on to them. I keep finding them, so I'm pretty safe.
Yeah, I think at one point I had 7 or 8 of them. So I'm like, yeah, all right. I don't have to be scared to die in 1 hit.
it's so funny when we watch this back because you are doing the same thing I did. Like you were going down this one corridor, you saw 2 scorpions and you turn around and went the other way. And I've done that so many times. It's like, I'm not going to deal with this right now.
By the end of the time I was playing this, I was comfortable killing almost any enemy on the first floor in a couple hits because I was powerful enough.
Yep. And when you you start off with a short sword and you can buy better equipment, but you can also find that same equipment throughout the levels.
Yeah.
Which is, I didn't know. So I bought a small shield and I'm going around and I happen to just find a small shield almost immediately after buying one. I'm like, come on, I just wasted my money on this.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the you can grind if you want kind of mentality. Like, if you really want to sit here and grind it out, you can, but that would take forever. But if you are struggling, you could do that.
Yeah.
I just mean that's still in their games today, so.
Yeah. And there's a point, too, where I got lost. I mean, it's so easy to get lost in this game.
We're going to get into that.
And because I was lost in the maze area.
You'll have to be more specific.
Well, that's why I was lost. So I was grinding through so many enemies that I just kept increasing my levels and my strength. I'm like, well, I guess this is working out in the end because I'm stronger now because of this, but it's not fun because I don't know where I'm going.
So I played this game for about 40 minutes before I used a walkthrough, and I was just lost the entire time. I mean, to me, you have to play this game with a walkthrough or some kind of map. But, obviously you didn't do that, so I want to hear how you did it. Were you like remembering everything or what?
Kinda. So I guess we'll go into that now. So the maze I got lost in there's 2 different mazes in the first floor, and they look exactly alike. So I happened to go into the second one where you find that person digging and they're like, oh, can you find my child? He ran off because we argued. And then I died because I think I got overran by scorpions. Starting the game back up again, I go into the first maze thinking it was the second maze. And I spent about 30 to 40 minutes in this maze trying to find that person again. I'm like, once I can find this person, I can know where I'm going, but I've gone down every tunnel. What am I missing? That is the one time I pulled up the walkthrough with the map. And I was like, oh, there's a whole second one I forgot about. And then once I found that out, I stopped looking at the map. But yeah, it's honestly just, this game does a good job of, you go down this one thing and there's a hole. You go down this other thing, there's a skeleton on the ground. And you kind of use those as references. So you see it like a hole on the ground. You're like, oh, I somehow loop my way back around to this. So I can turn around and go the other way now.
I hear you. But being in these mazes that, like, especially the ones that we're looking at here, everything just looks the same. And
it does.
I don't know. I mean, I never found this guy's kid, by the way. Did you ever find him?
Yep. He is located.
Is he in this maze?
It's when you leave this maze and you go down to that area with all the skeletons. And then you work your way through all those rooms. And there's mummies as well. And then there's one room where there's a save. There's a cross on the wall with the mummy there. You got to kill the mummy and the kid's on the ground there.
Oh.
Wait, no, you have to find the kid because he's the one who has the map. And you found the map.
I found a different map.
How did you find a different map?
I have to look this up right now because I want to make sure I'm correct here. But I found it was called. Are there 2 maps? I know there's different maps in this game.
That would make a lot more sense because I was going to complain about the map if there's a second one.
I found the Keeper's map. Is that the one? No, that's the only map. I guess I would have had to have found him then.
Yeah, so you found the kid. You just didn't know it was the kid.
Oh, was he dead?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, then I just found a dead body with a map. Haha.
Yeah, and that was the kid that they were talking about. Because the guy digging the hole is like, he has the map and I don't know where he is. I need that so I can find other things. And that's it.
Well, all right. Never mind. But also really quick, I realized I asked you about the frame rate, but I never said how I felt about it. So
yeah.
We kind of just went off on this whole thing. Surprisingly, and this is, maybe I'm giving this game a little more grace than I should be. I didn't feel like it mattered that much. Like, yes, this would be 10 times better at 60 FPS. But with it being a slow game by nature, I don't think that it really impacts anything. Like, yeah, it's annoying, and this game should at least be at a locked 30. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about it because you're already moving slow anyway.
Right. But when you take that slow movement and you slow it down even more because there's 2 enemies on the screen, that doesn't frustrate you?
Oh, it does. But I just kind of got used to it. And I think part of that is because I didn't get sick from it too.
That's a big point. But you do get used to it, but you also, I don't know, I feel like it does ruin it a little bit where it's like, how are we having this many frame drops with nothing happening on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
It hurt a little bit. It sucked.
I would personally just say that I blame the slow movement over the frame rate for the problem, honestly. Like, even if this game was at a steady frame rate, it still would be super slow.
It would, but it'd be less frustrating when you're trying to make sure you're not dying and you have a mummy that is like inching his way towards you. And like, is he attacking right now? I don't know. I'm just going to swing and hope that I'm not going to get hit.
That's fair. And I think just a lot of the things in this game can be explained away with the whole, I just got used to it,
And you do get used to it. I will admit that.
And not to say that that is like an excuse, but it's just like there are games for me that we've played that I never got used to it. And I never just accepted it because it just was so annoying or so hard or it made me sick. And this, I felt like after about an hour, I was like, all right, it is what it is.
If I would have died constantly due to the slowdown, it would be a different conversation.
Yes.
The fact that it never really matters too much, and it's like this is an annoyance, but I'm not dying because of it. It's passable.
What's crazy is I feel like you'll agree with me. This game is really not that hard.
Once you understand, I mean, this could apply to Dark Souls too. Once you understand the mechanics, it's fine. Like the biggest problem for me was when you're in that first starting area and like off to the left-hand side, there's gravestones and then sometimes a mummy will show up there.
Mm-hmm.
So the mummy showed up and I'm like swinging. He's swinging at me. He's not hurting me. I'm not hurting him. So I literally just was like, all right, see ya. And I just walked away because like neither one of us are doing anything in this fight.
I do like that you can escape too, by the way. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah. You could just walk away. But it wasn't until like my 3rd or 4th death where I realized, oh, they make a sound when you hit them. So that's the cue that you're doing damage. And I just thought, am I doing damage and I don't know it? And this game isn't giving me any feedback. So it was nice.
I actually just walked into the area you were just talking about now.
I know. There's that zombie.
I agree with you in pretty much everything you're saying, honestly. Like it just takes time. And I will say I did find it annoying that you can't tell you're hitting an enemy unless they make a noise. Like it doesn't feel good. The combat in this game does not feel good to do at all.
It feels like you can hit farther away than you can. Like you got to be face to face with them for your weapon to make contact.
Did you find the battle axe or buy it?
I wanted to, but then I found the Knight Sword and
I'm about to find the Knight Sword in this footage right now.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. So
yeah, I got the battle axe. You get it from killing a tree kind of near the second shop. And it's very, very good. Way better than the sword. But the range is way shorter. So it's just not worth it to me.
Yeah. And I found a battle axe too. Whenever you're going down that one hallway and there's like steps to your right that you go up and there's 2 gravestones.
Mm-hmm. Where all the skeletons are down the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. I used my magic and I killed one of the skeletons and he had a battle axe, but I didn't know how to get to him to get that battle axe. So it just sat there.
I ended up looking that up. To get there, it's like way later in the game.
Oh, okay.
You like teleport there from somewhere else.
That's the thing too about this is just like you find so many doors that are just all locked. And I imagine that they all become unlocked eventually as you get through it.
So, I mean, we're kind of getting really deep into this. So I can explain some things for you. How far did you make it?
So the last thing I did was I brought the dragon cup to the dragon temple, turn on the fountain, and
the fountain also heals you and your magic.
Yes, which is so nice.
Does it do it every time you go there?
Every single time.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is a permanent. You can just go back. It's far away if you're deep into this, but
yeah,
to just run back, grab that real quick, and then get on with your journey, it was such a nice touch. I got that, and then after getting that, I was just trying to find out what the next objective was.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I explored everywhere, but I didn't know what I was looking for. Well, oh, and I found so you know how the priest says you need to find the gold cross?
Mm-hmm.
I found that, but I didn't have enough money to buy it. So I was like, well, I need money for this. Do I just grind away until I get enough money? And then that's where I ended.
So I somehow was able to buy the cross.
Wow.
I kept finding those bloodstones, and you can sell those.
See, I was holding on to them.
So I looked it up. They don't do anything. You just sell them.
Oh, see, I was like, these seem like they're necessary, so I'm going to hold on to them until I find the thing that these are used for.
So I pulled up some footage to show you as we're talking now. This is my footage from literally right before we started recording. And it's me. So the last things I did, I bought the cross, went and gave it to the priest. He gives you a key, and that key opens most of the doors on the floor.
Okay. So I was on the right path. I just needed the money to buy the cross.
Yep. And then there's me getting the battle axe too, right there. So yeah, there's all that. And then you go and there's the room with the arrow traps.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you go to the northwest, that whole section of the top, you go up there, there's a bunch of hidden walls, all kinds of annoying shit up there. But you get to this area, a new area that you have to use the key for. And there's a shit ton of skeletons everywhere. But at this point, I'm powerful enough that I can kill them all in like 2 hits. So it's not too bad. And in there, I deactivate the arrow trap. And then once you get past that, that's where you hit a teleporter and go to the second floor of the dungeon.
Okay. So given a little bit more time, I would have found it. Yeah. I knew what the objective was. I just didn't have the money to pull off the objective. Which I blame me buying that shield. If I didn't buy the shield, I probably would have had enough money.
Also, when you get to the second floor, you need a new map. I assume you imagine that was how it would go, but
yeah, the Silent Hill treatment.
Literally, you get there and you're just like, oh man, and there's more powerful enemies everywhere. I was like, all right, I'm done. We're recording in 10 minutes. I have to stop.
I figured too. It's just like once you get powerful enough and the weapons that where you can one tap a lot of enemies and even two tap pretty much everyone on the first floor. I assume that it wasn't always going to be this easy and it's going to get a lot more difficult.
Definitely.
But I do like how they allow you to sell your stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
With the axe, if you liked it and you're like, oh, I don't need any of my other weapons, you can just sell all of them and then that gives you even more money.
Oh man, I had a moment where I found another night sword and I sold it in the shop. And then it said I didn't have one anymore. And I was like, no, please. And then I checked my inventory and I still had it.
I did the same exact thing because it disappears and you're like, no, did I just sell the one weapon I need in this game?
I was so stressed for that second, but then it was there. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of skipping around here, but I think we've painted a pretty accurate picture of what you do in this game. I mean, you're just exploring, looking for items and trying to figure out the path forward.
Yeah. And we were talking about the speed of the game. I mean, you do walk very slowly.
We did skip past that.
I was okay with that. I guess I had to deal with it. So I was fine. I got used to it. The part that annoyed me was the turning speed.
That's what I was going to say. That is the part that is annoying. Like, I don't mind that you're walking slow, but it's not that slow.
For what it is, it's fine.
Also, Kingsfield 2 adds a run button.
Yep. And that was one of the buttons I saw in the manual. Like, oh, I can run. This makes life so much easier. Nope, you can't do it.
But, and this is a big point I want to make about this game. I personally think this game is terrifying. It is so scary.
Just because you don't know what's around the corner?
I think that the slow turning speed, the low draw distance, everything is like off in the distance. The weird music that it reminds me of D.
I was going to compare it to D as well with the turning speed.
Yeah. And, you know, it became less scary the more powerful that I got. Obviously, that's how these things go. But in the beginning, I'm like, this is almost to me kind of a horror game.
Especially when you hear an enemy off in the distance.
Oh, man. And then you're turning super slow so they can just be right there. The game never gets you with it because they just can't. But
yeah,
I still was thinking the whole time it's going to happen.
It's one of those things where the enemies can sense you through the walls, so you can hear them through the walls, but it sounds like it's right behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So the imagine as I heard a skeleton, and I'm like, oh no, and I like go as fast as I can away to figure out where I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, I never got jump scared. I never like was quote unquote actually scared, but the tension is so high. And like once you learn the map, it's like anything else. It becomes a cakewalk. You're just sprinting past everything, whatever. But I legitimately felt the same way that I feel when I play a new Souls game. Like the first time you're going through an area, you're so anxious because like you could die right now.
Yep. Especially when you make it very far and maybe you just picked up a cool item. Like say you picked up the battle axe and you're so deep into this that you're like, if I die right now, I lose all this.
So I was using save states, but I never really had to load them. So like,
okay.
It was kind of like whatever, but I was hitting them, because I was like, oh, fuck,
Yeah, there was times when like I would grab something and then I would just run back to this cross just to save. I'm like, I don't care if I'm going to get lost getting back to where I was. I just need to save to make myself feel better about this.
It's kind of crazy though, because I felt like I always was scared I was going to die, but I was never truly that close to dying. Like after a certain point.
Aside from the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
Like once you get a grasp on the mechanics and like the game is always providing you with healing items from enemies.
Yep.
So, I was hitting the save states for a peace of mind, but I never actually used them outside of like a few times where I messed up and I was doing something stupid or something,
Yeah. And I mean, we didn't talk about this. There is armor, there is shields. So even with a small shield, once I got that, I felt more comfortable because it limits your damage by so much. I could not imagine being decked out in armor and a bigger shield. How you could just walk through every single person and not have to care at all.
I never found any armor and I didn't buy any, but I did have the shield, obviously.
I found a breastplate on some soldier somewhere in the maze.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to use this.
I kind of just gave up once I knew what I had to do. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to go in this maze anymore. Because you'll see towards the end of my gameplay here, when I am a little more confident in the objectives I'm doing, I'm constantly checking the map just because I want to make sure I'm going the right way. It's so easy to get lost.
And even with a map, it's hard because it will show you a path and you're like, but how do I get there? Because there's a wall in front of me. And here's like a secondary path you got to take to get there. Or you'll have a locked door, but you can actually get to the area if you have to go the long way around to get there. But when in the second maze part, there was a point where I'm deep into the maze and I check the map and I'm like floating off of the ground. I'm like, where am I now? Like the map isn't even accurate to where I'm walking.
So this game does this thing, and I found this from watching YouTube videos, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's just in this one or if it's in the second one or what, because I was watching a bunch of videos about Kingsfield, and they do this thing where certain maps only show you certain parts,
Oh.
So it's like, I found the map that this guy has, so he knows about all of these parts, but he wouldn't know about these other things because why would he go there, you know?
That's frustrating, but it does make sense.
It's lore stuff, and like I get it, but at the same time, it is annoying. I had to use the map on the walkthrough and the map in the game to truly feel like I knew what was going on here.
And even with the walkthrough when you sent it to me, so when I needed to figure out where that guy was who was digging the hole, when I put up the walkthrough, I'm like, now I need to figure out where I am on this map to figure out how to get to where I am. So I had to like find this one area to like now reference it over there. I'm like, is this even the right area where I'm at right now?
That's what I was saying earlier. Like, even having the walkthrough just says, get the golden cross, trade it for the key. You know what I mean? Like, you still have to figure out what to do. You still have to like kind of pick your path that you want to go. And like, I don't know, there's still so much decision making in exactly how you're going to play this game that even having the walkthrough isn't necessarily something that's going to just solve all your problems, you know?
So there was a written walkthrough then too.
I didn't look at that. I was looking at the one that had the map and it just had the objectives because I didn't want to like follow it point by point. You know, underneath the map, it said like, get the cup and activate the fountain.
Okay.
Then it said, get the cross, trade it for the key, deactivate the arrow trap, go to floor 2. So that's all that I knew. I didn't like, there were other guides that's like, you know, you want to go left here and then get this, and there's this item. I didn't do any of that. I just knew the overarching like objectives. And then I could kind of solve them in the way that I wanted to with the map. Kind of like what I was referencing in the intro to this whole podcast, you know?
Yeah. And so, okay, I didn't realize that they told you that stuff down below. I was just looking at the map. Like that was my version of doing the walkthrough of, all right, they have where all the items are. So I'm going to kind of look at this and figure it out. But I didn't know that it told you what you needed to do next.
Directly under it, it says exactly what to do.
Okay, I just looked at the pictures.
But yeah, I mean, it doesn't tell you hidden walls. It doesn't tell you any of that stuff. Like you still have to, unless it's like a crucial thing you have to find. But
yeah, and the hidden walls thing, like what's your, I don't know if we talked about this before. I feel like we have, but what's your opinion on them?
Most of the hidden walls that I found were because there were enemies coming out of them, which I think is perfectly fine.
That part's fine, yes.
Or I like heard something, so I started checking around, but like maybe they were so hidden I never actually found them, but I didn't really have trouble because I would always have like a hint.
The only time, so like whenever you go into that first room with the skeleton that we died a million times on, it's only because like that one panel looks different. So you're like, oh, why does this look a little different? And like there's other secrets too where like the wall is just slightly darker gray than the rest of the area. And you're like, that looks a little weird. But there are secret areas in this game that just are the wall texture of everything else. And you just don't know it's there. And that part's frustrating because, well, I guess if it's not crucial to the game, it doesn't matter. But
yeah, I mean, that's where I go back and forth on it because Dark Souls and all those games do something similar.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they give you hints, but there are some that are just like you end up walking down the wall, smashing the interact button. You know what I mean? Until you find something.
You'll see that on my footage a lot in this one of just me running down the wall, hitting the interact button. But I mean, even in Elden Ring, I think it's hit this one section of wall like 10,000 times to open it up. And then.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, it doesn't even do anything.
Yeah. It's like, why? Who would ever realize that this is a thing you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, even in Dark Souls 1, like my favorite one, there's some stuff that I would have never figured out unless someone told me. Because like, I was so frustrated with that game. I started playing it like 3 separate times. And then finally, it clicked for me. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we've covered almost everything here, right? I mean, we didn't talk about the magic.
Yeah, but did you unlock any other spells?
No, and I obviously didn't use it for half my playthrough because I didn't have any.
Oh.
Until I got the fountain, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They don't give you any items, I don't think, to heal that, right?
Not that I know of. I found something called a recovery potion, and then it didn't even recover that. It just recovered my HP, so.
Oh, yeah. I had mine low, so I purposely just didn't use magic anymore until I got the fountain. I'm like, oh, now I can use this as much as I want. I'm good.
Yeah, and I mean the spell is that you have is like useful, but it's not anything crazy, you know.
There are what, like 7 or 8 spells that you can unlock, which is nice that they give you a lot of variety.
There's also a hidden spell attached to every weapon in the game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only found this out from looking at some other stuff, and you swing the sword and push the magic button at the same time, and you do like a weapon art essentially.
Oh, that would have been cool.
I don't know what weapons have them and which ones don't. I don't think they all have it, and some of them are more powerful than others, obviously. So, yeah, it's a cool little touch. You know, obviously they still do that now as well. You don't do it that way. You have a button to trigger it. Yeah, this game doesn't tell you any of that. You're just expected to figure that one out, which is crazy.
I wonder if it is in the manual, because we did just briefly look through it. Yeah. But you also talked about the music and stuff. I feel like there could have been more to it. It's one track that just plays over and over again.
So I got to the second floor and the music stops being like, 'cause I feel like the music in the very beginning on this whole first floor is very like tension building.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily any melodies. It's just like meant to stress you out.
Mm-hmm.
The music for the shopkeepers is kind of silly.
Yeah. Yes.
The second floor music almost reminds me of like Castlevania or like traditional horror sounds, like spooky. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So to me, the tension is all but removed from the music. The tension is still there because the enemies are more powerful, but I just feel like going around these corridors with that music playing was just really like putting me a little on edge, you know?
I just was hoping for more. But again, you're on one floor and there's never loading screens. So it's just like, the one track makes sense because you're just always in the same area, and it just makes sense to just keep looping over and over again. But after a while, it's just like, can we have something else to listen to?
Oh no, I fully agree with you. And I mean, Dark Souls and all those games do the thing where there's no music when you're playing, and then it's only for like the bosses or special events. So,
which I would have liked that here too. Imagine like no sound and you just hear people walking or something. And
I mean, it would have been way scarier in my opinion.
Yeah, it almost goes back to like that. Well, I guess Doom does it too, of having just that ambient, the one we did.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it does add to it. I wanted more.
Again, this is like a personal preference one, but I prefer the ambient stuff. But I like it when, for example, I understand they want to do the ambience when you're exploring. The shopkeeper music should have been a fucking banger then. You know what I mean? Or like whenever you go to the church, it should have its own music and it should be something a little more relaxing. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean too, yeah.
Yeah. The actual shop should have music, not just when you're talking to them.
And what I mean too is like, I'm fine with the ambience, but give it me more where it's like not just the same thing over and over again. Like have variance within that ambience to like throw you off a bit more.
Yeah, maybe each maze has its own theme, even if it's just slightly different.
Exactly.
No, I agree with you. And to extend that to the sound effects are fucking so loud.
They're so loud and obnoxious, especially the scorpions that sound like you're hitting up a dog.
Even just swinging the damn sword is so loud.
It is. And there's no options to change it. It is all just, your options are just, do you want the sound effect on or do you want it off? That's it.
Obviously, you get used to it, but in the very beginning, I was just like, why is this so loud? Like, why? Because I had my sound up because the music's really quiet. And then I swung my sword and it was just like blaring.
Just that whooshy sound.
Yeah. I don't really think there's much more to say. I guess looking at this footage, we didn't really talk about the power meter and the magic meter, which functions like a stamina system from the Souls games where you can't attack when it is all the way down. And as it goes back up is the more damage you're doing. So if the power meter is all the way up, you're swinging with the most power, doing the most damage, which you know this going into it. I feel like, whenever you see it, you're like, I understand what this means. But then for me, I kind of forgot about it. And I would just be kind of like swinging as soon as I can. And I'm like, why is it taking more to kill these guys all of a sudden?
Yeah. But we could be different on this. But the way my fighting style was I would swing back up and wait for them to attack again before I swung again. So within that time frame, the power meter was already back up to where it needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching my gameplay. You see me swing back and forth just like you, so.
Yeah. And that's the part of just learning. Like, you learn it's like, okay, you attack, now I attack. You attack, now I attack. And you got to wait for that perfect opportunity just to run in there and swing and then run backwards again.
Exactly. And like, is it a good combat system? Not really.
No.
But, kind of is what it is. A lot of the videos I watched, they were like, the best method is circle strafing, which, yes, it definitely is. And it still is in Souls now. But it's so hard to do it.
Especially with the trees, that's the best time to do it.
I would try and then I'd get stuck on a wall and I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going to tank the damage right now.
Another part we didn't talk about is the enemies don't chase. So if you see one, all you got to do is pretty much just get out of its area and then it leaves you alone and goes back to what it's doing. So if you do get overran by something and you just run, you're fine. And they're not going to be like, you're not going to have 8,000 things chasing behind you trying to kill you.
Yeah, I love that they don't chase you because it would be so annoying if they were just chasing you throughout the whole map. But on the other side of that, I understand why, but the enemies just constantly respawn.
I wouldn't say constantly. There are areas where they keep respawning back, but no, okay, yeah, it is constantly.
Oh, wait, no, there is a map for the second floor. I forgot. There is. I lied.
Oh, so once you pick out the map once, it's always with you.
It's the whole dungeon. But you have to find other maps to give you other parts of it.
Okay.
But anyway, what I was going to say was I think that as you go, you leave an area and you come back, the enemies are back, which, there's an important reason for that. And it's you need to grind, you need to get gold, you need to get healing items, but sometimes you can't run past them easily, especially when there's more than one. So it becomes a little frustrating.
And I would say that it also helps you in terms of where you are. When you see the area with 2 scorpions, you're like, oh, okay, I know where I am because I've dealt with this 5 times now. It's kind of like those placeholders that I was talking about earlier. Like, it's just a way to, this is where you are, this is where you need to go type thing. And once you get strong enough, you're not struggling to beat them. It's just, 1 to 2 swings, done.
Yeah, it's just like a waste of your time, though,
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of this, and I have one other question I wanted to ask you.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about the graphics? Because we never really talked about it. I just want to say, for me, knowing this came out right after the PS1 came out, I kind of think it looks all right for what it is. I think I personally love this look. It's very nostalgic to me. And that makes it scarier, in my opinion, the way this looks. But what do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, it's environment-wise, very simplistic. I mean, that's why everything looks alike within the mazes and the rooms you're going into. But enemy models, I was very surprised at how detailed they are, considering we've played games much later in the PlayStation's lifespan that look way worse than this. So they nailed it whenever it comes to the monsters and everything.
Yeah.
There's no problems. Nothing's glitchy about it. There's no textures that are like, oh, that looks gross. It's just pretty straightforward, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's an early PS1 game. Like, it looks like it. That's pretty much it. Like,
I could just, like, I can't really think of an example at the top of my head. But some of the games in the past, like, if we were to play, like, their version of this, we would be complaining nonstop about how gross it looked and how poor the models are.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to go above and beyond for their very first game on a brand new system, it's just like, you nailed it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, with it being such a big map and there being so many places to go, no loading screens, like, that's why the frame rate sucks. That's why the textures all look the same, because there's so much to see. And I can see both sides of it, which one you'd prefer, but I'm fine with this.
Oh, yeah. I just think back to Blaster Master,
Mm-hmm.
where all those loading screens all the time for something to look really good. And it comes back to this of like, I'll take the sacrifice of not having to sit through a loading screen every single time I go through a door or something.
I hear you. But yeah, I think we're ready to move on to reviews, but I just have to say, are you positive on this game?
In the beginning, I wasn't like playing the game. I was very negative, but honestly, and this is why I said in the beginning of the show that I want to go play Dark Souls. It's because of this game where I'm like, I conquered the difficulty of this game. Well, not conquered. I got over the little hump and I was making progress. It makes me less scared now to go and play Dark Souls.
I was going to say, I was expecting. So going into this, I'm like, he's going to fucking hate this. I'm going to give it like whatever score I'm going to give it. And you're going to give it like a fucking 2 or something. And I'm going to be like, well, come on, dude. But we've only talked about how it's a good game. I mean, like,
it is.
Obviously it has its limitations and there's plenty of things I would improve about it, but it's a good start, especially for it being their first game. So like, I'm just happy that we finally played essentially a Souls game.
I know. And now I'm very excited to jump into the frustrations of all the Souls games that they came out with after this.
You're conquering this, so you can conquer anything. But let's get into these reviews. So this received mixed reviews. I mean, to be expected, I think. But it ended up selling enough to get its sequel. I think
Right.
I remember reading they were surprised by that. Because at first people hated this game. And then they're like, oh, we have enough money to make another one and bring it to the United States. You know what I mean?
Nice.
For a company's first game, and it looks like this and it plays like this in 1994, I can understand why you wouldn't think it would sell that much.
With that and with what they were prior to being a gaming company, I forget what it was, but it was nowhere close to gaming. Like they were a completely different company, and they're like, "Hey, why don't we try doing gaming?" And this was the product of that. So I can see why they weren't confident of like, "We've never done this before. How do we do this?"
I know. Imagine just making that switch from like I think they're like just a regular software company to just making this insane. All right, I did have trouble finding reviews, so these aren't the best ones, but they're here.
Yeah.
Computer and Video Games Magazine gave the game a 1 out of 5, and they said, "This has to be one of the most boring games I've ever had the misfortune to play. How this has become as successful as it has is completely beyond me. First of all, why so slow? It trundles along at such a tedious pace." I understand it. Obviously it's a slow game, but I don't know. I wanted to bring this up and I forgot to bring it up in the intro, but I have played a newer game that is inspired by Kingsfield that I think you should check out.
What's it called?
Lunacid.
Okay.
And it is literally this, but at a smooth frame rate, still has the same vibes. It's very fun. I played it, I want to say like a couple months ago. I never beat it, but then we decided to do Kingsfield, and I'm like, well, I'm ready. I've just played a game like this. I think you would genuinely really like it. I'll send it to you after this. But just wanted to give that game a shout out because it's very much what would this exact game look like now.
Okay. I will check this out once we're done recording. But I mean, like we said, he's not wrong. It's at least when you first get into it, if you don't know what you're getting into and you start walking and you're like, is this really how fast I'm going to be moving the entire time? It does seem like a pain, but as you go through the game and play more of it, the speed makes sense.
Well, the important part too is that the enemies also move pretty slow.
Yes.
It's not like they're like zooming around you. If that was the case, then I would be mad.
Yes. Everything is fair.
All right. And a more modern review, because I could not find any other ones from the time. A Japanese website called Vision gave the game a 3 out of 5. This is Google translated. So they said, the game is extremely unfriendly compared to modern games, but this refreshingly detached nature can be an advantage. I remember old games with a high degree of freedom being like this in general. The atmosphere created by these graphics is worth a look. Which, I agree.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about that. I think that's a pretty spot on review.
Well, that brings us to our scores. I am genuinely just kind of, I don't know what to do because I was expecting to have to kind of meet you somewhere with this.
You're expecting a fight?
So I don't really have a score prepared.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know. I genuinely I know I like it. I have a place where I kind of want to put it, but I was expecting you to give me so much pushback and you to be so negative that I'd be like, all right, well, I'll put it here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that fully.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to say my score.
Okay.
And if you feel like we should go higher than this or lower than this, we can have that discussion. But
okay,
just to start, I do genuinely like this game. I think that there's a lot of things that could be fixed about it. It's not an amazing game, but I was surprised how much I was ready to just dive in. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with, I think, a 6.5.
You read my mind. That's the number I was going to give it to.
Okay.
The easiest review or ranking we ever had to do. I mean, like you said, not perfect. A lot of frustrations, but it's just like the product of the time, and like, again, being their first game, it's understandable. The part that is like, we talk a lot about like, oh, this was boggy, so we're going to lower the score because of it. And I think it's because I just want to say, like, we do that because it ruins the gameplay, when in this case, it doesn't. It does get a little frustrating, but it's not killing the vibe that you're having because it happens.
I wanted to keep playing this game, even though those things were there. I was still having fun despite this stuff. This stuff didn't ruin the game for me. So,
yeah, I made it to 3 hours and I was like, do I have to stop? Like, I'm so close to figuring out these things. I want to keep progressing.
I will say, I even played this game like I do Dark Souls, where like I play for like a half hour, 40 minutes, and then I'm like, I need to take a break because it's just stressful. Like, I could not sit here and play this for hours just straight. All my gameplay things are like 20 to 45 minutes long because I'm like, I got to take a minute here. Like, whenever I do this in Dark Souls where I find a bonfire or complete an objective, and then I'm like, all right, now is my time to stop for a little bit because I have made significant progress and I don't know if I can work myself up to start again, you know?
Yeah. And I did probably several hours at a time, but the stress was still there. I was just working through it. And it's like, whenever your health is low and you hear a skeleton do its like shriek, like I would get like chills. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to die right now. And I can't afford to die.
I probably won't play this more. I'll be honest with you. I'm definitely not going to play this more, but I want to play more games like this. And I'm excited to play the second one.
I'm excited for the second one. I'm excited to get into the Souls games. I'm excited to play this new one you told me about, which is this, but modern.
Yeah.
I feel like this just opened up everything for me that I was afraid of for Souls games.
Welcome to the team.
All right. So with the 6.5, that gives us a lot of ties. And I'm about to read off the list, but do we even need to read off the list? Like, this goes at the top, right?
I was looking at this in anticipation of you reading this, and I definitely think it goes at the top.
Like, right now we have the top of Diver's Dream. This is way better than Diver's Dream. So much more depth to it. So I don't want to read through the whole list. So this is going to be at 31, right below Ape Escape, right above Diver's Dream.
Hell yeah. I mean, I genuinely like this game. I'm excited to play more. There's like 4 of them. Plus there's even spin-offs and like other series on the PS1 that they've done that look like this. So there is just so much more for us to play, and it can only go up from here.
Yeah. And like we said, second one has a run button. So that already is a big improvement from this one. So I'm just like, okay, that's improved. What more did you learn and what more did you improve on from this first game?
I cannot wait to play more. But yeah, before we wrap this up, we have one more thing to do.
We do. So we haven't done this in a very long time, but we are going to be spinning the wheel. It's been like over a year now since we've done this.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think that we're going to start doing this more often. We're either going to have a guest or we're going to do the wheel. So for the time being, that's the plan. And yeah, we have a list of every single PS1 game on here. So I can't see it because I'm capturing something else while we're doing this. So, you know, feel free to let it rip.
All right, let's see what we get. Oh god, the lag.
Oh, I know. It's so funny every time.
Oh no, I have this set for 30 seconds too. So it's going to be even longer.
Ah.
All right, give us a second, people. So, the game for next week.
Oh no, I don't like the way you're laughing.
I love this. Rocket Power, Team Rocket Rescue.
So I had a friend that had this game and I always wanted it. Yeah. I never played it. I remember seeing it at his house a couple times. I'm pretty sure it's bad, but I could be wrong.
I feel, is this the first one that's based off of a cartoon that we're playing?
We played A Bug's Life.
Oh, yeah. Why do I keep forgetting about A Bug's Life?
I will say the Wikipedia page for this has shockingly little on it, and that concerns me.
That's a good sign for where this is going to go.
It doesn't even have there's like the reception tab at the bottom of all the reviews. Yep. It doesn't have that at all. So that scares me. But hey, the wheel could have gone much worse. There could have been way worse things that we had to play. So
did you watch Rocket Power a lot?
Loved Rocket Power.
So did I. One of my favorite cartoons as a kid.
The movie that had Tony Hawk in it, so sick.
We're talking about this next week because I have no clue what you're talking about.
That is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe and give us a rating on podcast services. We'll see you next week.